What is up? Follow Beyond the Gates Watsers. Back to talk about another episode. I got more opinions on today's episode, which was another pretty solid one. I've been enjoying this return week very much. It was another episode, though, where the Duprees kind of got on my nerves, which is probably what we're gonna jump into right away with the Ted stuff today. But I first want to shout out a comment from my girl Hemi in the comments. She's always bringing up good points. She left a comment yesterday about Ted and Bill, and it was very relevant today. She said, "It's kind of funny to see Ted losing to Bill when it comes to winning the favor of Anita and Vernon, especially when they both cheated on their daughters. Ted is not valuable to them, and they pretty much showed him that by treating him like a nobody after he told them he stopped Leslie from moving across the street. It might be time for a character death on the show because I don't know what direction they could go in with Ted, and I'm tired of him taking L's and looking pathetic." And Ted kind of took another L today, but I love the point that Hemi brought up about how Anita and Vernon and the Duprees in general are treating Bill all of a sudden, but how they treat Ted is pretty poorly because Ted can't do anything for them. But Vernon's always going to Bill, needing some help. In today's episode, Nicole and Ted got in an argument at the end of yesterday's episode. They're arguing in front of the family. Nicole's telling Ted that they're thankful for what he did with the Leslie situation, but that she owes them nothing. And I do agree that Nicole doesn't owe Ted anything at this point. But where it all got really shitty for Ted is when Bill decided to interrupt the fight between Ted and Nicole and put like a 10 down on the table. Like he's betting on Nicole in this argument against Ted. And then, of course, Anita and Danny follow up the bet. And it was really the Duprees starting to pile on Ted, but looking like not only hypocrites, but they look dumb because they're standing there with Bill, who has treated one of their daughters far more poorly than Ted has ever treated Nicole. And so when Ted busted out a "you people" on the family, it was good to see Ted stand up to the Duprees, because I've talked about the past two episodes how the writing for Ted, how he wanted to look good to the family, was looking pretty desperate, and how it was making me dislike Ted more and more these past two episodes. But there's nothing on this show that can make me like a character more is them calling out the Duprees on their BS. For anyone that's watched me from the beginning, I have been very consistent in how I feel about the Duprees, and especially Anita and Vernon are very fake people, and how they need to be seen a certain way, but behind the scenes, they're kind of users. I mean, you see that with a lot of powerful families that have money. They do want to use people, and that's why Hemi's comment yesterday was spot on, especially after today's episode. So it was good to see Ted stand up to them. And Ted also call out Bill and the family about how Ted made one mistake and then he became a loving husband to Nicole for 20 years. But Bill has cheated on Danny several times. He left Danny for a younger wife. He humiliated Danny constantly since the marriage. He's always throwing Haley out there for everyone to see, throwing Haley in Danny's face, at the family's face. And yet here's the family standing by Bill while they're all attacking Ted. They looked dumb, and I was proud of Ted. They've done a lot this week making the character of Ted have more fire. It's what the character needed again since the recast, and they've done a good job in showing that. So good for Ted. Anyone standing up to the Duprees, throwing their BS in their faces, is good with me. So the past two episodes might have made me dislike him, but today's episode, he won me back over. Now, later in the episode, the Duprees are seeing Danny and Bill being very chummy again, almost like Danny's relying on him for comfort. And it is understandable because they just went through this whole ordeal with Chelsea not knowing if their daughter is safe. Nicole calling that out, but I don't think the family actually wants Danny to be falling for Bill again. But she might be on her way of doing that. Some other points today. It was a strong episode. I liked that Martin and Smitty also had a very passionate kiss. Definitely by far the most passionate kiss they've had on the show. And dare I say, for the first time, I see a spark with Martin and Smitty. And I say that very rarely on this show, that there's a couple on this show with sparks or chemistry in general. But their kiss was passionate. Martin and Smitty started the episode talking about Joey and how maybe they're going to owe Joey something now. And we know Joey does expect Martin to owe him with something at some point. But more so, Martin wants his husband back. And in this episode, not only did they have a passionate kiss, but apparently they ended up having sex as well. Martin even wanted seconds, so it must have felt like some makeup sex. But Smitty still doesn't want Martin back in the bedroom because Smitty still cannot trust Martin. So even though Smitty wanted Martin back on a physical level or needed him on a physical level, he still doesn't trust him. So they still have problems to work through. But they had good scenes today. They won me over a little bit with their chemistry, so maybe we will eventually have a couple on the show with some actual chemistry. Who knows? I also loved more of the Allison stuff. She's been entertaining me a lot all week. She's been cracking me up at times because Chelsea was at the police station, very upset with Allison, wanting to talk her shit to Allison to make herself feel better. Jacob told Chelsea she can say her piece, but to keep her hands to herself. Allison said, or don't, which is my first line of the day. That cracked me up. She is not only psycho, but kinky, too. Allison's a kinky one. Allison tried to take credit for Chelsea now trending worldwide, telling Chelsea that she gave Chelsea what she wanted, clout. Allison was trying to say that Chelsea wants her followers to be her groupies, and then she's always trying to sell her followers things. And she says that Chelsea made her who she is today, her perfect devoted follower. And I thought that this episode did very good commentary on social media, on everyone trying to be an influencer on social media, and how some followers do feel like they know that person, like they're a part of their life, because people post every aspect on their life on Instagram, on Twitter, here on YouTube. I just talk about TV. I don't even really have a Twitter or an Instagram, so hopefully nobody's ever gets obsessed with me. But Allison being obsessed with Chelsea, I think, is actually very true to life. We see this a lot of time with celebrities. They get stalkers. They almost get kidnapped. There's kidnapping plots with celebrities all the time. So it was good commentary on all of that. I liked Chelsea ranting to her mother about it because it is very different now from when Danny was a model. Social media was not around. Now Chelsea feels like, as a model, as an influencer, she's wondering why they always want likes, why they always want people to be a part of their lives, and then act surprised when they think they are. So it was just valid points and very realistic how influencers nowadays want the engagement, always want to put out different pictures, different content, and then they might get a psycho. Meanwhile, Allison was at the police station kind of driving Jacob crazy. I love the line where she said she's stressed out because she's separated from her wife. Allison really seems to think her marriage to Chelsea is valid because she is so psycho. And then at one point she thought Naomi was coming in to represent her as her lawyer, when she had another good line when Allison called Naomi her sister-in-law and said, "Isn't that what the Duprees are about, taking care of their own?" So Allison had some very entertaining scenes today. I do love a good soap opera Psycho. The problem with the soap opera Psycho is they can't be around for long because then they just get too much and too annoying. So, as I've said all week, I wouldn't mind if Allison returns someday. I don't know if her storyline's over yet, but if it is, I want her to return at some point because she is a good Psycho. Lastly, we had some Derek and Shanice and Derek and Ashley. For anyone new to the channel, I don't watch Ashley and Derek scenes. When they're alone together, fast forward for me, Derek was still, trying to rehabilitate his body and physical therapy, and by the end, we get a Derek cliffhanger like I'm supposed to care. He seems to have feeling in his legs again, but I was left not caring. So, yeah. Outside of the Derek and Ashley stuff, per usual, the rest of the show was great. Very entertaining. Glad Ted stood up for himself and called the Duprees out on their typical BS.